My name is Bryn, and I'm an astrophysicist. Now, I'm sure for a lot of you, when you think of an astrophysicist, you have this mental image of some greying, floppy-haired Mancunian standing on top of a mountain in some far-flung place, waxing lyrical about the universe at large, staring off into the middle distance, and sounding like a prat. Unfortunately, that's not what I do. I love a holiday. I'm actually an astrophysicist in training. I'm doing my PhD, which means that I come in the morning at 9 or 10, or if I'm being honest, 2 in the afternoon, and I sit at a desk and I write some code. And then I've got this problem I need to find a solution to with the code, so I write up some code, and I stop and I read over what I've written and make sure my code looks good. And then I sit down and I run my code, and then inevitably it will fail. So I stop and I debug my code, and I promise you, debugging code is some kind of torture. It should be banned by the Geneva Convention. So once my code is debugged, I sit down and I run it again, and I wait, and something pops up and it's finished. I then look at the results, and it's not what I expected, and my whole life is going down the drain, and I bang my head on the desk, and I go home and cry. I'm actually in the dying throes of my PhD. I'm writing my thesis. The most important thing for writing a thesis is accurate record keeping. Here I've got logbook number 7 of 25 on my PhD. It's an accurate record of everything I've done between some certain dates. All the mistakes I've made, all the dead-end paths I've gone down to try and find answers to questions that nobody asked. Writing a thesis involves writing up a bound document of about 150 pages, which again, it just reflects everything you've done wrong. And it's so good. I liken it to being lying down, bound and gagged on the train tracks, looking over to the side to see the noon o'clock train racing towards you as your thesis deadline comes to sever your head from your body and put you out of misery. So as I'm lying here with these records of everything that I've done wrong, I kind of want to escape. So my mind goes to some place, some time, and come back to me here. Come back before the election last year, in which Theresa May narrowly clung onto power by buying off the DUP. Back before America ended democracy by electing Donald Trump. Back even before we decided we were going to isolate ourselves from the world by Brexit. 2 years ago. There was a time when I was off in some far-flung space, in some desert, staring off into the middle distance at the vistas, dressed like a dried-up rock star and sounding like a cunt. That's when I went to visit the most toxic place in the Western Hemisphere, Washington. No, not that Washington, it was Washington State. I went to go visit a place called LIGO, which stands for Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. And it's where they measure something called gravitational waves. So let's break this down. What's a gravitational wave? When you've got something really, really heavy, heavier than your mum, and you accelerate it really, really quickly, it tends to make a ripple through all of space and time. And this ripple will have the effect of stretching something out in one way and squashing it down the other way, but it's not enough to make your mum thin. And as they pass through the universe and they traverse through space and time, they eventually come to Earth, and they wobble Earth a bit, so they change the distance that a meter is. And we can measure this by having an interferometer. That's an interferometer, so we're measuring interference, and we do that basically by racing photons. We have a light source, like a laser. It just shoots out 2 photons of light, and it hits a beam splitter. Now, a beam splitter does what it says on the tin, and splits the beam. So you've got one photon that goes racing forwards at the speed of light for 4 kilometers, hits a mirror, and comes back on the return, back to the beam splitter. The other photon races off in another direction for 4 kilometers at the speed of light, hits the mirror, and comes back. Now, the quick among you will notice they've gone at the same speed, the same distance, so they should arrive at the same time. But if a gravitational wave has passed through, it'll make one arm longer and the other shorter, and so they'll arrive at different times. By measuring their arrival times, we can detect gravitational waves. And that's what I was doing in America. While I was out there, thanks guys. While I was out there, I continued to keep records because I wanted to write a good thesis. But my memory in my young age is starting to fail me. So as I look back tied to this metaphorical train track, thinking back on what I've done, my records don't match up with what I remember happening out there. For example, like, I'll flip this page out. When I was out there, I was surrounded by like these, the cutting edge scientists. There was maybe 50 of us on site, the smartest minds in the field working on this grand project together for a noble goal, all just trying to get some answers to the universe. But what I've got written here is, in my diary, is something a bit different. It says, I'm out here with some of the sharpest cutthroats in all of science. They'll do anything to get #1 spot on the author list. Last week, Deb called in the radioactivity scare. You see the sites on this old radioactivity thing where they made the uranium that went into the Manhattan Project that got dropped in Japan. So a radioactivity scare is kind of a big deal around there. She knew it was fake. She said it worked for the rest of the evening. We all had to go home. But just going to get a first author. I remember that I used to work long-hour days. I'd drive into the site in the morning and I'd shut myself in an electronics bay and fiddle with this and measure that. And at the end of the day, you come home with a glowing sense of fulfillment, knowing you've contributed something to the knowledge of what we know about the universe. Thinking it's all for a noble goal. But again, what I've got written in my diary just doesn't match up. It says, I'm out here in the desert. They're working me 14-hour days, and the water's not safe for drinking. They shut me in this electronics bay until I can find the LED. The light, there are no lights flashing. I can't find anything. This is like a gulag. Little did I know that's what America would become. And I think back to one of my best friends when I was out there. She was one of the operators, so she would sit in the big chair and take data at the machine. In fact, she was there taking data when the first gravitational wave passed through and made the Nobel Prize-winning discovery. It was something like 3 in the morning local time. I used to cat sit her cats, and we go to Comic-Con together. We're really good friends. But guess what? It's not what I got here. It says, she's offered me the cat sit again. She's going back home for 2 weeks. Last time there were 4 cats, now there are 6. That's not how cats work, right? Last night, the gravitational wave came through, so I called up at 3 o'clock to congratulate her as soon as I heard. She was asleep at the wheel of a $1 billion experiment. I'm sure that's a bad use of government funds. So eventually, I do remember this correctly. I remember being glad to come back to Glasgow. I wanted to come back and see my boyfriend, and I wanted to come see my parents and feel comfortable at home again without being, yelled at for being a limey. So I came back in June of 2016 for a bit of culture shock. Why is it so cold? Why is everyone swearing at me? What are you voting on? So I decided to run away into a basement and hide out for a little while. Found a nice computer there and started coding. Eventually, I got bored and the weather turned warm. You've seen the heat waves, so I put on my shorts, went outside for my laptop, went for a walk, found a cafe to write up in, ended up finding a train track to lie down on. Thanks, everyone.